After David, Israel entered a new era. David had united the tribes. He had defeated enemies. He had established Jerusalem as the center of the kingdom. But David was not the final king. Before his death, he passed the throne to his son, Solomon. At the beginning of Solomon's reign, something remarkable happened. God appeared to him in a dream, and God said something extraordinary. Ask for whatever you want me to give you. Imagine that moment. Power, victory, wealth, long life. Solomon could have asked for anything. But Solomon asked for something different. He asked for wisdom, a wise heart to govern the people. God was pleased with that request. And so God answered Solomon, not only with wisdom, but with riches, honor, and peace. Solomon became the wisest ruler the world had ever seen. His reputation spread across nations. Kings and queens traveled across deserts to hear him speak. One of those visitors was the Queen of Sheba. She came from far away to test Solomon's wisdom. And when she heard him speak, she said something astonishing. The half of it was not told to me. Solomon's wisdom shaped the kingdom. He wrote Proverbs. He wrote songs. He studied nature, animals, plants, and human life. And his wisdom helped bring stability and prosperity to Israel. Under Solomon, the kingdom flourished. Trade routes expanded. Cities grew. Silver became so common it was considered ordinary. But Solomon did something even more significant. He built the temple in Jerusalem. For generations, Israel had worshiped God in a tent, the tabernacle. But Solomon built a permanent house for the Lord, a temple made of stone, cedar wood, and gold. Inside the temple stood the Ark of the Covenant, the symbol of God's presence among his people. When the temple was completed, the priests brought the ark inside, and the glory of the Lord filled the temple, so powerfully that the priests could not even stand to minister. It was the greatest moment in Israel's history. The kingdom was strong. The temple was built. The people were at peace. Solomon had everything: wisdom, power, wealth, honor. But something slowly began to change. Solomon began making alliances with foreign nations, political alliances, and those alliances often came through marriage. Solomon married women from many different nations: Egypt, Moab, Ammon, Sidon, and many others. Over time, Solomon had hundreds of wives and hundreds of concubines. But those marriages brought something dangerous into the kingdom. Foreign gods. The wives of Solomon brought their religions with them. And slowly, the wisest king in history began to compromise. He allowed altars to be built, places of worship for other gods. At first, it may have seemed harmless, a small compromise, political gesture. But compromise has consequences. The man who once prayed for wisdom began bowing before idols. The king who built the temple of the Lord built altars to false gods. The wisest king in history began turning his heart away from the Lord. The tragedy of Solomon's life is one of the most sobering stories in the Bible, because wisdom alone is not enough. Knowledge alone is not enough. Even the greatest human king can fall. God had warned Solomon, if he remained faithful, the kingdom would endure. But if his heart turned away, the kingdom would fracture. And that is exactly what began to happen. Toward the end of Solomon's reign, unrest grew within the nation. Enemies began to rise. Tensions began to form. And the united kingdom of Israel began to weaken. After Solomon died, the kingdom would split in two: Israel in the north, Judah in the south. The golden age of the kingdom was ending, and the nation would begin a slow descent toward exile. The story of Solomon reminds us of something important. Human kings fail, even the wisest, even the strongest, even the most gifted. But the Bible tells a larger story, a story about a king who would not fail, a king whose heart would never turn away, a king greater than David, greater than Solomon. And centuries later, Jesus would say something astonishing. Something greater than Solomon is here. Because the true king had come, and his kingdom would never fall.